Hey, Dan is in Japan.
That's an awesome trip. That's exciting.
Yeah. So you're here, Steve Argyle, everybody. One of our favorite people. He's been on my channel quite a bit, but never on Intentionally Blank.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So he's filling in for Dan because I need to sign these pages. Steve is a fantastic illustrator who has done art for a lot of different games, board games, collectible games, Magic the Gathering, ton of art for us. He was the featured artist on the Frugal Wizard's Handbook. And so you saw his amazing art in there. And we always have cool projects that we're doing together. We have some things in the works as well. And so I'm excited that Steve was willing to come. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. I listen to the show and I'm always like, man, I have stuff to say about that too. Because you and Dan have just this perfect rapport. And I'll be honest with you, I was a little nervous when you invited me. I'm like, I'm not sure that I can quite match that banter. I will try.
I mean, I haven't known you quite as long as Dan, but we've known each other quite a long time.
It's 15 years, I think.
Yeah.
2010 San Diego Comic-Con.
Because we were both going to Comic-Con at the same time. And I was in the bookstore in the airport, and I tried to get your wife to buy one of my books.
Well, so we were there, and Kat had just finished. I don't remember. I don't remember which book. One of your books, and she was like, I want to do the next one in this author, but I looked at the reading list. I'm not sure which series to start next.
Mm-hmm.
And you were doing your ninja signing thing.
Yep.
And you're like, well, if you just finished this one, I would recommend Warbreaker. Right. Because it's kind of the next thing that you would want to explore in the Cosmere. But I have to be honest, I'm biased because I wrote this.
Yeah.
And we both went, wait, what? And we freaked out, and
well, you weren't there yet. You were in the other section. You weren't with her. You were there in the bookstore, but you were in another section or something. I met you right then, but I was just talking to Kat, and she was like, my husband does art for fantasy. You're a writer. You need to meet him. And I'm like, really? And you guys live locally? She's like, yeah. She talked about where she lived, and you're down the street from me. And then, so we went and found you. And I got a Chandra card signed from you sometime during that trip. Cause I hadn't had, I didn't have one on me. I don't carry my whole Magic collection, but we got one anyway. But yeah, I met you in the airport, and you might have even left the bookstore and gone to the gate or something, and we had to meet you there or something like that. But maybe it was in the bookstore. If you remember the bookstore, then you wish to just, because I distinctly remember Kat saying, you need to meet my husband, and then, pulling me over to you. So back when we had a nice bookstore right front and center in the airport, alas, pour one out. I would pour one out, but it would ruin all these pages that I'm signing.
Days gone by. And that started our Magic nights too, because I remember I knew you were a Magic fan, and so I was like, do you want to be on a Magic card?
Yeah.
So you came over and posed for Urbis Protector.
Yes, from the Return to Ravnica block from a while ago. You got in trouble for that, kind of a little bit.
I did. So Wizards is funny to work for. I get in trouble and get praised for the same thing.
Yeah.
A lot. Anytime I do something that's a little different,
yeah,
I'll get, usually it's email, where I'll get one email that says, hey, we feel like this is kind of overstepping, or we don't want, just in case something weird happens, we don't want to tie ourselves to real people, stuff like that. And then I'll get the same day an email going we love this. This is so great. We love that you go out of your way to do special stuff. Awesome. Do more of that. And I'm like, okay. Which hand of Wizards do I listen to?
Yeah, before you did the card with me, one of the things that we started doing is you were my first partner for Two-Headed Giant at conventions. We would go to conventions, we'd both be there, and we'd want to play Magic, and you hadn't played a lot at that point.
No, the fun thing is, not a lot of people know, but Brandon taught me how to play Magic. He invited me to a Two-Headed Giant at a local game store, and I was like, I would love to do that, but I will lose the games with you because I know in theory how to play, but I really haven't played since like 1996. So Brandon taught me how to play, and we had a great time. It was the second Innistrad set.
Yeah. We built some sort of really wacky deck, Two-Headed Giant, and then we would be at conventions, and a lot of people in the gaming space that I don't know, and you would introduce them to me and be like, hey, they want to have you in and you can play with some fans. And I'd be like, really? Free game of Magic? And so you and I would go play with fans at, was it Tim? Tim
Shields.
Yeah, Tim Shields would have us in, or super nice guy.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He was the guy who ran the Judges Academy, right? Yeah. And he was Cascade Games as well, so I think. And so he would have us into the Cascade Games booth, and she's like, you want to play with fans? Here, come, here's some product, play. So, and we spent a lot of time playing Magic together, and then you invited me to be on a card. What's the first project we asked you to do for us? Do you remember?
It was the leather-bound Mistborn.
Okay. It's that painting, the bookend, what do you call them?
Pages.
End pages. The gorgeous end pages of Vin.
Oh, thank you.
Had we done is that when we did the Vin token?
Yeah.
In conjunction with that?
The tidbit. We all know that Magic and Brandon go along well together, but when I did the Vin piece, Brandon specified it needs to fit on a playmat. It needs to crop well on a playmat because I want one. And then a little bit later, you were like, and tokens.
And tokens.
We want to do tokens too. So,
and you did that in conjunction with Gen Con. It was like the 25th anniversary of Gen Con. Those tokens have like a little 25th anniversary thing on the back. So
that was a good Gen Con for me.
Yeah.
I got to do the big dragon for their 50th anniversary.
Right. It was 50, not 25. Yeah.
And like, it was a lot of fun. Like we got out of the airport, and the airport had this massive print of that dragon as we were coming down the escalator. Just like, this is the coolest thing ever. And that Gen Con, I realized that if you do things with confidence, you can get away with a lot of crime. I said, like, the dragon was everywhere, and I'm like, I'm going to sign all the dragons, right? Because eventually somebody's going to take these home. I mean, sure, a lot of them will get thrown away, but I'm going to sign all the dragons. And at first that was easy because they were just, posters and things like that. And they were obviously promotional material that nobody's going to be upset that they were signed. But it escalated because they were really everywhere. And we come out one day, and there's, at Gen Con, they have two streets that they block off with police cars. And that's where all the food trucks are. And Kat points to one that is hung up on the scaffolding across the street. And there's right underneath it a police car and two officers just kind of, being present.
And you're going to be like, how do I sign in front of police?
And Kat's like, you missed one. You gotta do that. I'm like, there are two police officers right there. I would have to climb this scaffolding 5 feet from them. And, she kind of goads me on. She's like, all right, well, I mean, if you're going to chicken out, that's fine. But so I'm like, all right, well, if I get arrested. So I went ahead and climbed the thing, signed it, and they're just kind of looking at me like, whatever. And Kat went up and talked to them while I was doing it. Just like, let them know what's going on. But I don't think they would have done anything either, either way.
You were so confident. You're
just like, all right,
I got to come up here and deface this thing, but don't worry, it's the kind of defacing that we like. Yeah. So we thought we'd talk a little bit about being a professional artist. Like, we've talked so much on this podcast about being a professional writer. I want to hear about being a professional artist. How did you start?
So I started a long, winding, backward way.
Okay.
I I went to school for chemistry, and so I was kind of looking for more of a hard sciences.
You knew that I did as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was technically minded, and I was working my way through school by working the summers.
Where'd you go to school?
The U of U.
U of U. Okay.
University of Utah.
Uh-huh.
So every summer I would be like, I'm going to take all the jobs I can, but my stipulation was I don't want to take anything that's full-time. I just want to do,
right.
Because school was hard enough that I was like, if there's something where I have to quit a job, I might not.
Right.
So I was doing that, and there was a job in the classifieds for a studio artist making video games and TV and movies and stuff. And I'm like, well, that sounds awesome. I'm not at all qualified, but I'm gonna apply. I'm just gonna see.
Really? I have not heard this story.
Oh, really?
How have I not heard this story?
Oh, you've not heard my origin story. That's surprising, because most people are sick of it. But so I went to the interview, and I brought a bunch of little doodles and sketches that I had, because I had mostly I hadn't really pursued art. I just did it because it was fun.
Yeah.
And so I show them sketches and stuff. They go, well, this is actually not like what we do. Like, we do 3D modeling and animation. So the fact that you have an artistic inclination is good, but really we just need somebody who knows how to use this very technical software. And one of the little side gigs I had done was an internship at Viewpoint Data Labs.
Okay.
Which did way back when they were like the first company that did 3D models. And so they had some claim to fame. They did the Godzilla from Godzilla 2000.
Okay.
They did the
Matthew
monster from
Broderick one?
Species.
Okay.
And so they were kind of a big deal. And I was an intern. I didn't do anything. I got coffee, right?
Right.
But I was like, oh, that's okay. I didn't understand what you wanted. I actually did some time at Viewpoint Data Labs, so I actually am familiar with some of this stuff. And they go, oh, okay. Well, do you have any of that? And I'm like, not with me. Like, this was before you could just grab your phone and show people. So like, okay, well, tell you what. We'll just call this a successful interview, and we're gonna have you back for the second interview, which we're doing on Saturday. And
bring your stuff.
And what we do is we just kind of run people through a little test case scenario with the software, just to make sure you know what you're doing.
You are giving everyone on the internet the wrong idea of how you're supposed to go to interviews.
Yes. So I'm the wrongest case for fake it till you make it.
Or the rightest, but okay. So what did you do? I've never heard this.
On the way home, I bought a computer at Circuit City, cheapest thing I could find. And then I started hunting for the software that they used. It was the very, very first version of 3D Studio Max. Okay. And that still is very common software. At the time, no one carried this. First, I just started, calling around local stores, and they're like, "We've never even heard of this thing."
What year is this?
1996.
Okay, so the internet existed, but you did not download large amounts of software off of the internet. This was not this is the era. This is years before we would download one song MP3s that would take a half hour to download.
Yes.
So, yeah, you needed CD discs, physical media to be able to have this program. Yeah.
And I could not find it anywhere. I finally called the company and asked for distributors. And they're like, let's see, in your state, there's one distributor. And I'm like, okay, thank goodness. Where is it? And it was this store in Park City. Okay. And so I'm like, okay, well, that's okay, cool. Park City's not that far of a drive. Yeah. So I drive up there, and it is a ski rental shop. And so I go in and I'm like, this is going to sound really weird. Do you guys sell software? And the dude behind the counter is just like, does it look like we sell? No, we do ski rentals. Like this is why would we? Like what software would we even have? And so I'm like kind of moping and turning around, and I hear this from the back. Wait, somebody say software? And I'm like, okay, so I'm waiting. This guy comes running out and he's like, you want software? You want 3D Studio Max? And I'm like, yeah, this is weird. Like, why do you have it?
You're
and
buying
why are you
software
so excited about it
from a pusher. Yeah.
So turns out he had a little bit of the same problem I did. He wanted to learn this thing and could not find it. And they wouldn't, you couldn't buy it piecemeal.
Okay.
Right? At the time, it was like you either bought big or
Not at
you
all.
dealt with it.
Okay.
So he had to buy, I think the minimum was like 10 copies. And this was expensive software.
Yeah.
So he's been trying to offload it forever. He was so excited. So I finally bought it, go home, install it.
From a ski rental shop.
From a ski rental shop.
Okay. In Park City, which is where they hold the Sundance Film Festival, or at least they did until they're moving now to
next
Boulder.
year.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is sad.
Mm.
So it came with a big, thick user's guide and tutorial manual.
Uh-huh.
And I started going through it, and I realized I was so in over my head. Like, this really was very complicated at the time.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? I'll hate myself if I just give up now. Besides, I put a whole bunch of money in this.
Yeah.
So
you bought a computer and expensive software.
So I just went through this tutorial manual over and over and over and over and over again for the rest of the week. And so essentially, the tutorial was, here's how you make primitive, so like a sphere.
Yep.
And then here's how you make it move through the scene. And then here's how you light it. And when you were done, what you had was a little beach ball that bounced across across the floor. I'm like, this is not gonna
Wow them.
work.
Yeah.
And I built some really clunky 3D models to be like, yeah, sure, I've done this before. So I go in and they're like, cool. So, the second interviews, we just will run you through a little scenario and you do it. And if you can't do it, then cool.
Great.
And if you can do it, great. So they say, we just need you to animate a ball bouncing across a room. Really? Okay. So no problem, right? I do it. It takes a half an hour. And I'm like, so I'm done. And they go, we thought so. We thought you would quit. Like, you're too young. You didn't seem to really know what you were doing. So it's fine. It's no big deal. And I'm like, no, I don't mean I'm done like I quit. I mean, I have finished what you asked. So they come over and they look and they're like, huh, you even got like a little squishy and stuff. Like when it bounces. That's okay. You know what? Do it again. We want to watch you.
Okay.
Because they
They assumed that you had like the tutorial one or something. Yeah.
They didn't know about the tutorial, man.
Okay. They assumed that you had, okay.
They thought maybe I had talked to somebody else.
Okay.
And so I like knew what was coming.
Okay.
So, or like I'd brought it in on a disc or something. Yeah. So they stand behind me, I do it, and I'm not as nervous. I've got all the hotkeys and stuff. It takes me 20 minutes. And they're like, wow, okay, like, you didn't even have to use the menus half the time. You just had the hotkeys and stuff. So, wow. You know what? If you want to start on Monday, you can. Like, let's give it a shot. Now, I worked for this company for 5 years.
Okay.
After, and I survived all the layoffs. There were 3 total people that stayed from the time that I joined to the time that the company dissolved.
Okay.
They told me that they figured out my game a couple hours into Monday. They went to lunch and they said, yeah, what happened? Like, how did that kid, how did he fake us out? Because he does not know what he's doing. They're like, yeah, I mean, he lucked out or whatever. We should let him go as soon as possible so it doesn't get weird. So they said, okay, well, you take care of that. It's like, I can't I got this meeting and I got this other thing to do today. I can't do it today. Like, well, I can't do it today. So it's fine. We'll do it tomorrow. This happened for 3 months.
You were like the Dread Pirate Roberts. We'll likely kill you tomorrow. Meanwhile, you're learning the software for
frantically.
Real. Yes.
Like, I go home and I go through these the user's guide and I practice. They said after about 3 months, they were like, maybe we don't need to fire him. He's learned enough that he's worth his minimum wage. And the rest is kind of history with that company. Mm-hmm. I moved from the president of the company, he was like, after about 5 years he's like, I realize that I love business, but I don't like this business, like 3D modeling and stuff like that. It was hard. And he was competing with Hollywood studios. So he's like, I just don't want to do that. I want to do business and I want to start making other businesses. So I'm going to dissolve the company, but you guys will have a year and I will write you raving recommendations and it's going to be great. So we had a year to find new jobs. And I have a whole side tangent story on that one, but I'll maybe leave that one for another time because I got some very interesting job offers that I didn't end up taking.
Okay.
But I ended up taking a job at Incognito Sony.
Okay.
Who their claim to fame was Twisted Metal.
Yeah.
And so I worked on Twisted Metal Black.
Did this become Avalanche?
Yes.
Which became Disney Salt Lake, which then became something else.
Actually, I'm not sure if Avalanche, no, I don't think it was Avalanche.
Okay, it wasn't Avalanche. But Isaac worked on that too. That game, Twisted Metal.
Okay.
Right? Didn't he? We'll have to ask Isaac.
I'm not sure.
Okay. But you didn't know Isaac there?
No.
Okay.
I quit before they changed, because they did change a few times.
Okay.
And the one of the things that they did that I had no idea was a thing is they would start a game, have a demo that was good, that was like really good, and then they would sell the whole studio. And they would have a term of like 2 years saying like, we're going to finish this game and then we'll start a new one and then we have to renegotiate. And they would basically, that was their business cycle.
Right. So for 2 years, they're making only that game. They've sold the studio time for 2 years to make that game.
So like every couple of years they got to renegotiate with their, improved clout. And it was,
right.
Yeah. So eventually I decided I wanted to try illustration.
Okay.
Because the funnest parts of the video game industry was the very beginning and the very end. Beginning when you're doing concept and you're figuring out like what this is going to be. And then the end when you're doing marketing materials and stuff where it's like we're showing it off.
Right.
The in between is incredibly tedious.
You got to animate people walking. You got to animate, you'd think animating explosion would be fun, but the 500th time I've heard about this from many artists. That's not the most fun part.
Yeah. Like I spent, I think 3 months doing icicles.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I learned a lot. It was great, but I was like, do I want to do this rest of my life? Mm-hmm. And I was in my late 20s and I thought, I don't have any commitments yet. I don't have kids. I'm not married yet. Mm-hmm. This is the time I can kind of experiment. And the one thing that I really want to do is the fun parts of this. I want to illustrate things.
Right.
I want to do concept design. So I explained that to my boss and he was super supportive and awesome. And he's like, hey, how long do you want to stay? I hope this isn't the 2 weeks kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Sounds like this is just eventually I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. I said, yeah, that's the plan. He said, okay, if you can stay until the end of this game. So I did. And we parted ways very amicably. And it was a great experience and everything. And I jumped right in. I had a friend who did cards for Legend of the Five Rings. And I said, you need to hook me up with the art director. And because, at the time, that's kind of just how it worked, is you just had to know the right person to talk to.
And did you walk in and say, I've done hundreds of cards for hundreds of games?
No. And so I have bent the truth, but I've not lied in these sort of scenarios. So the art director.
You did work at that company. You were an intern at it. Yeah.
I didn't do anything useful, but I didn't say that I did. Mm-hmm. So I get an email back from the art director, and it's essentially like, okay, so I got a call from Matt that said, I need to give you a shot or else he won't do more cards for me. So here's what's going to happen.
It's a good friend.
Yep. I'm going to give you a card, and when it doesn't turn out, you can't blame me. Because I can see, like, you sent me some stuff. You haven't done this before. You have a whole different thing. So, I mean, it'd be great if you succeeded, but I don't expect it. But I don't want you to badmouth me to Matt because he's one of my favorite artists. So I'm like, okay, no pressure or anything. And it was like, at the time I had nothing else really okay. Technically I was actually still working for Incognito at the time, but we were on kind of a little breakish time. So I had to like show up, but there wasn't a lot of stuff to do. So I pretty much spent my whole time doing this one card. It took me about a month.
Okay. Right. I have heard this story before. You've talked about taking a month to do a card and realizing this is, not what you can do for every piece of artwork.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They paid you, what, a couple $100 for that?
It was $150.
Yeah.
And it took me like 75 hours.
Yeah. So cool 50 cents an hour? Is that what that adds up to be?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's more than that. It's $2 an hour. Yeah. Right? $150, 75 hours, cool, $2 an hour. Sorry, I reversed my math on that. I'm an English major.
So he was like, oh, this is actually not bad at all. You want to do some more? And I did like 300 L5R cards before L5R got sold to Fantasy Flight and became a living card game, and they're not doing anymore.
We still have a bunch of your playmats from L5R playmats that we play Magic on that pop out now and then.
That's awesome. It was a really good game. I mean, it's not like it's completely gone, but it's a little bit like Magic, where it was a game where part of what fueled it was it kept changing, the storyline kept updating. And one of the things that fans really liked about it is they'd have big tournaments and stuff, and the outcome of the tournament would determine the storyline going on in the future. So the players had a genuine input. Magic tried that for a little bit, but they kind of were like, I mean, we're still gonna do our own thing. Yeah. So they didn't do it for very long, but L5R was known for that, and it was really cool. So then I went to Gen Con in 2006. And I really wanted to work on Magic the Gathering. Right. Not because I was a fan, but because they paid better. Right. The pay for L5R had gone up to like $175 a card, but I was still spending 30 or 40 hours on a lot of these pieces. And Magic paid $800 per card. And I was like, that's the money I need. So the art director was there. At the time, there was only one. And I'm like, okay, I need to introduce myself and get to know this guy, but I don't want to be like that pestery, jump in and be like, you, give me a job. So I'm going to try and do this as casually and organically as possible. And some of the other artists were like, well, kind of what happens is we kind of congregate at the hotel bar and we just sort of chat. And so that's probably the best way to meet him. And so first night, go to the hotel bar, kind of casually, there's open spots to the table, and I'm like, hey, you guys want, can I buy you guys a drink? And, I'm new to this. I kind of want to get to know people. Is that okay? They were super cool. And so the art director said, yeah, if you want to get me a shot of Crown. And I had no idea what that meant. Right? So I just go to the bartender and I'm like, 2 shots of Crown. And he's like, all right. So he puts out these little shot glasses and I take them back, and I didn't drink. Right. Closest I got was like the dumb high school experiences where it's like, here, this is alcohol. And you take its taste and you're just like, why? Why does this happen? Why do people do this? But I'm like, I don't want to be the odd man out. Right. So, I do my little shot of Crown, and it's, you have to get a taste for this sort of thing, right? And so I was awful and everything, made the crazy face. But it was enough of a introduction. To be memorable. And well, we got to talking. And we never talked about magic or art. Turns out that we just both did a lot of dumb things when we were kids that were surprisingly still alive after doing. So it was great conversation. It was a lot of fun, and we just kind of never got to it, which I was like, okay, that's fine. That's fine, because they do this every night. I've got 4 days, one down, but there's 3 more days I can broach the subject. In fact, it's probably better that I didn't.
Yeah.
So night number 2, pretty much a repeat.
Mm-hmm.
3, 4, same thing. And the whole time I'm like, I need to find a segue.
To say, does the art director even know you're an artist?
Yes.
Okay.
Like we did talk a little bit, but the topic was only about digital art.
Okay.
And it was like, are you guys, like, how do you guys feel about digital art? Because at the time it was moderately controversial. Not like
AI art, which we might
like
talk about next on the next podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and he was like, I got no problem with it, stuff like that. And so show's over.
Mm-hmm.
I go home and I'm like, I can't believe that I couldn't make that actual introduction. I never gave him a business card, never did any of that stuff. And now I'm going to email him and he's going to be like, yeah, I talked to like 1,000 people. So I email him and I'm like, yeah, I'm the guy that, also did this stupid stuff as a kid. I just want to let you know I'm an artist. Here's my website. And, if you ever have room for kind of a new guy, think of me.
Mm-hmm.
And he writes me back and he goes, so I saw your stuff in the art show. I didn't actually go during the day because I'd get mobbed.
Mm-hmm.
But before the show opened, I did a pass and I really liked your stuff. And the whole time I'd been like, I need to see if this guy wants to do magic or if he's like loyal to L5R because
right.
And we just never got around to it. So like he had the same experience I did.
Oh, that's funny.
And he gave me my first card that same day.
What was your first card?
It was the Textless Reward Ponder.
Okay, yeah.
Which they haven't done that sort of thing for a long time, but and
which I have in the cube, a signed copy
nice.
by you. That's the Ponder we use in my Power Cube.
Oh,
is
that's
your
awesome.
textless one? I think. I'm pretty sure.
Well, it's the only one I did. So.
Okay, then it is. It's the one that we have the playmat of as well. Yeah.
And it set the tone a little bit because this was Jeremy Jarvis, and he is an amazing art director. He's one of my favorites of all time. He's not there anymore. Mm-hmm. They had when they did their layoffs, they laid off some really good people, and I'm not real sure why. But he's kind of who led magic into the high quality art that it's kind of known for now.
Was he their second art director? Was you?
So Jeremy Cranford was before him.
Okay.
And I hadn't worked with him, but I worked with him later, and he's also just great. Mm-hmm. He sent me the art description, and it was very casual. He's like, so this can be a lot of things, but essentially we just want a wizard who he's like casting at the stars and he's moving them with his power, like something like that. We don't want to have a repeat of the card we already have. Mm-hmm. But it's pretty kind of just basic wizardy. We don't have something real specific. We'll kind of let you do your thing. And he said, the one thing to know about magic is we do not do wizards in pointy hats where they're like focusing the power between their hands and staring at their navel. Mm-hmm. That is not magic. Don't do that. But that's kind of it. Mm-hmm. So the first sketch I sent him was this frumpy old wizard who's pulling up his shirt and staring straight at his belly button.
Right.
And
because you're you.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, this is going to kind of make it or break it. He seems like he's got a good sense of humor. Mm-hmm. So I sent him that and he sent back a thing. He's like, all right, send me your real sketches. I think we're going to get along fine. And that's how I started into magic. That's where my art career
took off. Yeah.
It's a long story. Sorry.
I like that story. I'd heard pieces of that, but I'd never heard the whole thing. So I think what we're going to do is, with that context, we're going to cut this episode, and then we're going to do next week's episode, and we're going to talk about AI art. And
juicy.
And AI writing and what we feel about this. And so join us then. How's that, Dan?